Good morning, beautiful people of the center. Our book of the month, Growing Your Inner Light, in the chapter that is assigned for this week, which is about spiritual practice and the material realm. It's all about, our relationship to supply and money. It's a very good chapter. It's worth reading. And it's got some tough love words in there, starting off right at the beginning on chapter 11 with this quote from Socrates, quoted in Plato's Apology. And I'm going to invite you to read it with me, but you've got to really give the commas a pause for this complex question to hang together, okay? Let's try. Most excellent person, are you who are a citizen of Athens, the greatest of cities and the most famous for wisdom and power, not ashamed to care for the acquisition of wealth and for the reputation and honor, when you neither care nor take thought for wisdom and truth and the perfection of your soul? Ooh. It's a good question, actually, for our own time, which we might paraphrase like this. Aren't you the slightest bit bothered by your culture's addiction to wealth and status? Right? Or maybe a gentler way of stating the same thing is, there may be more to life than wealth and status. There may be. Indeed, that's the whole focus, I might say, of all of our education ministry. That wisdom and truth. Indeed, it's been the focus of this whole year's theme of practice, practice, practice. It's been all about developing the awareness of those inner values by using various practices like meditation, selfless service, to land on that which is truly enduring and important. Now, by the way, if you're only just joining us for the first time, in our bookstore, I noticed our staff put together all of the resource material for the whole year so that you can start all over again. They've stripped all the dates out, so it's like a generic, self-contained curriculum. And you can get it for free online at our website anyway. You can download it all for free. And you can listen to all of the messages for free. All of our audio content and our TV video content is all for free. So you could start the whole program all over again and really develop that relationship with your inner life, a self-governed curriculum available for you. And one of the practices in this year's suite of practices is that of silence. And I wanted to take the opportunity to echo what our host Calvin said, and that is that there is a wonderful opportunity for you and I to practice silence in community together on the last day of the year. That would be Tuesday, December 31st, not Wednesday, because sometimes people mix that up and they come a day late. Okay, so it's Tuesday morning at 4 a.m. A group of us will gather at 4 a.m. and we will join people all over the world to imagine this world living peacefully. Now, that's a slightly different practice from praying for peace, which is fine too, and you might want to do that as well. But what we'll be doing, instead of praying for peace, we will be visualizing world peace in silence together. The visualization is an exercise in creative thinking. That's what it is. And despite what the crazy news says about our obsession with wealth and power and status, it remains the case that at the same time there are many, many, many people who are willing to put the pursuit of power and wealth on hold for a little while to imagine peace. The idea started in the 1880s, the 1980s. The foundation that put it together had for a start date December 31st, 1986. And as they built up towards it on their website, they described the momentum, saying word quickly spread. And when the moment arrived for that first moment of planetary cooperation, there were an estimated 500 million people participating, and they represented all of the religious faiths on 7 continents and in more than 70 countries, and certainly in every state in the United States. What a moment. And I don't know how many people across the world still participate in this moment, but I know literally hundreds of us in Santa Rosa show up at 4 a.m. to do it. Who's participated in that? It's just so yummy in that room to be together with hundreds of people at 4. And you know, 4 a.m. is not convenient. Right? But it's Greenwich Mean Time, and it says something about the value that it represents for us to show up and to simply try to imagine what peace might be like, to visualize it. Now, visualization as a practice is defined in the science of mind by Ernest Holmes, and won't you read this with me? Visualizing means mentally seeing the thing you wish to be or do. When you mentally see the thing and see it clearly, you are presenting universal mind with images of thought, and, like the creative soil of the ground, it at once tends to project them into form. If the thought image is clear, it provides a good mold. If it is imperfect, the mold is a poor one. This does not mean that we must set our mind to hold thoughts. It simply means we must think clearly. That's a beautiful reminder that in visualization there's no stress or coercion or forcing. It is simply the time we take to think clearly and in our mind, either by telling ourselves a story or actually seeing, come to clarity. And I think one of the reasons why visualization works so very well is because this thing that we have got going on as human beings called selective attention, right? Which means whatever we pay attention to rises up in prominence in our experience. I like to tell the story about how I was first introduced to this idea when a friend asked me if I had noticed how attractive Jeeps are, and I hadn't. But ever since the asking of the question, my world became populated with Jeeps, right? It's as simple as that. And so I've been playing with that, and when I'm noticing something by paying mindful attention to it, universal mind then goes about the task, Ernest Holmes says, of projecting it into form. And the way I experience that is in the form of an increase of coincidences, opportunities I didn't notice. People start giving me things that relate to it. I start to remember things. I'll hear songs on the radio that relate to it, and it's as if the whole of creation is conspiring because I am paying attention. Well, I've been paying attention to this idea of world peace in my personal meditation practice, asking myself, what might my personal role be in this planetary peace? What can I contribute to a world that works for everyone? And in one of my moments of sitting and considering that, you know, how it will be, it rises in you and you remember things. And I remembered a friend of mine, a psychologist, gave me a piece of writing by Hugh Prather. Because she wanted to illustrate to me that the craft of peacemaking starts very locally, at home, right in how I talk to people. And it's a humorous piece, and I think we learn so much through humor. And the piece is called The Magic Rules for Ruining Any Discussion. Let's see if you, like me, identify yourself in any of these. First rule, bring the matter up when at least one of you is angry. Or bring it up when nothing can be done about it. That's a good time. Like in the middle of the night. Oh, you know when a good time is? Right before guests are due to arrive. That's an excellent time. Or another good time is when concentration is impossible. You know, like when you're driving a very difficult route, or when you're headed for an appointment with the IRS. Bring it up then. That's excellent, excellent. The second rule is this. Be as personal as possible when presenting a problem. And you can do that by using an accusatory tone. That's very helpful. Or, you don't even have to be direct. You can just imply who is to blame. Because being indirect in conversations is a wonderful way to make the other person feel unstable. How about this one? Concentrate on getting what you want. And you do that by concentrating your language on what he or she must go without for you to be happy. And if you start to lose ground, you can jockey for position by overwhelming them by being very emotional. And if that doesn't work, you can always bring in the past. I'm glad you're still laughing. I mean, it is humorous. I want peace in the world. I want the politicians to be peaceful. I want everybody to be peaceful, but I can't even have a conversation with you. It's so tender and so human. How about this one? Instead of listening, think only of what you will say next. And the way you can support that is by doing other things while your partner is speaking. Or, a real good one is, forget where your partner left off and just start the conversation in another area. Have you ever had one of those conversations and you realize you're not talking about what you started off with? Or as Hugh Prather says, pay attention with all the interest you would give to a bathroom exhaust fan. I have one to add to that, as you ask a question, and then as they begin to answer, ask another one. It's awesome. Correct anything your partner says about you. Certainly if they cite something you've done wrong, find something to cite right back at them that is much worse. And use this phrase often, that's not what I said. Check all inaccuracies, comment on grammar. I'm watching partners in the audience looking at each other. My therapist friend who gave this to me, she said in her work, frequently couples that come to see her are going through stressful times, and usually when they are fighting, they are not fighting about what the stated topic is. That very often it's something else below that subject. And it becomes her job to listen for what is not being said, to discover that, and to bring it forward so it can be dealt with. And she says, in her opinion, most of the troubles in relationship have to do with our lack of skill in communicating peacefully. She cites that as the number one reason why people leave each other. In her opinion, and I was stunned by that, especially since I found myself all over this list. How about this one? Mention anything from the past that has a chance of making your partner defensive. And then when they get defensive, say, I didn't mean it that way. I'm just being real. Certainly compare them to other people's performance. That's always helpful. And the last one, although it's on the funny list, is a painful one. End by saying something that will never be forgotten. Because your partners know those things. We are remarkable beings of such light and such power. And sometimes we choose to use that, our spiritual resource, to do things that are destructive, unfortunate, not peaceful. Which is why contemplating peace on a regular basis, visualizing how it might be, is so helpful to return to peace. Peace Pilgrim certainly did that. She visualized peace all the time. And if you don't know who Peace Pilgrim was, in 1953, Mildred Norman, that was her name, she set off from the Rose Bowl parade on New Year's Day with the goal of walking the entire country for peace. And some say that she probably walked this country some 20 times across back and forth. Nobody really knows, I think, the actual number. And she left her given name behind and took up a new identity, Peace Pilgrim. She walked around just with one shirt with block letters saying Peace Pilgrim on it in a very distinctive blue. She said, for 28 years, the time that she spent on her journey, she said, I never used any money. She gave a new meaning to the word minimalist because she owned only what she could carry. Toothbrush, a notebook and a pen, and then the clothes that she wore. And she said, I only own what I can carry, and I just walk until shelter is given to me, and I fast until food is given to me, and I don't ever ask for it because it's always given to me without asking. I tell you, she said, people are good. There's a spark of good in everyone. Then on July 1981, just the day before she died, she was interviewed by a local radio show, and the interviewer said to her, you know, Peace Pilgrim, don't you think some people will think you're crazy? And she said, yeah, I'm certain some of the people listening to me right now think I'm crazy because I'm doing something different. And pioneers have always been looked upon as being a bit strange. And then she went on to say, but you see, I love people and I see the good in them. And you are apt to reach what you see because the world is like a mirror. And if you smile at it, it smiles at you. And I love to smile. So in general, I definitely receive smiles in return. And as beautiful as her message is and was, she also, like Socrates, had some tough love words for us about the state of our world and our role in it. For example, this one, which I bring to you. She said, my friends, the world's situation is grave. Humanity, with fearful, faltering steps, walks a knife edge between complete chaos and a golden age, while strong forces push towards chaos. Unless we, the people of the world, awake from our lethargy and push firmly and quickly away from chaos, all that we cherish will be destroyed in the Holocaust, which will descend. Those tough words. But you know, I'm grateful for them because they remind me every time I think of her to ask myself, what am I using my mind for? What am I using my life for? What am I using my actions for? How am I contributing to peace? And here at the end of the year to ask, and how do I want to show up in 2014? There is a prayer that is attributed to St. Francis of Assisi. He probably didn't write it, but it's known as the standard for peace. And here is an adapted version. It's written in the style of the command form, the declaration. You know, like a waiter says, walk this way. It's not a request, it's come on. This is how the prayer is written. You might start by saying, Spirit within me, make me an instrument of your peace. Won't you read the rest with me? Where there is hatred, let me show love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is discord, union. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is darkness, light. Where there is sadness, joy. And grant that I not so much seek to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. For it is in giving that we receive, it is in pardoning that we are pardoned. And to me, this prayer is the guide to being a peacemaker. It's a checklist for what my mind is focused on, especially when I read it as a question. Where there is hatred, do you sow love? Is that what you do? Or when you witness discord or people treating each other poorly, what is your go-to response? And do you want that to be your standard for 2014? Do you return hate for hate? See, just that little line right there, it's enough to spend a lifetime on. And in the world today, there is a lot of hatred being thrown around. So the question, how do you sow love in it, in all of this, is a good question. And I love that it says, let me sow love. Let me plant the seed for it, because it's a beautiful acknowledgement of just how gigantic the step can be sometimes from hate to love. And to not minimize it and think it's just throwing a switch. Sometimes I need to just start with something as simple as sowing the seed for it. How? By visualizing how it might be possible in my own mind. And then the prayer is filled up with clues for how I might do that. How? By bringing the opposite into play, by birthing it in my own consciousness, practicing in my own mind. When someone offends you, imagine what it might be like being able to forgive them as quickly as possible. When somebody tweaks you, imagine what it might be like getting over it very quickly. When you encounter discord, imagine what it might be like to have a normal response of looking for what unites you and that person. Just imagining all the people living life in peace. And where there is darkness, the prayer says, imagine being the one who brings the light into play. And I'm thinking of everything we've learned this year, 2013, about heroism from the tragedies we've seen. Like, what comes to mind is the 19 hotshot firefighters that were killed, and the bombing, the Boston Marathon bombing, and the ordinary and the extraordinary acts of bravery, and how that bravery stands as an inspiration for me to remember, to comfort people who are distressed, to listen to people who are lonely, to help, to contribute, to stand with those who are downtrodden, who are discriminated against, who are suffering. Now there's a resolution for 2014. Be a little braver. And I love the reminder in this line too, where there is sadness, imagine being the one who brings joy. Not the happy, peppy, smiley face kind of joy, but the joy that rises up, the quiet joy that comes when one heart says to another, lean on me. You can count on me. I'll be there. I'll help. I see you. I care. Now, the peacemakers that are being described in this prayer are the kind of people, I believe, that would make Socrates very happy. Because they would be the kind of people who value these inner qualities of wisdom and truth. And later on in the prayer, it goes on very much in the style of the Lord's Prayer, in which it says, give us this day our daily bread, give us everything we need so that we can live this life. It says the same thing. Grant that I not so much seek, grant that I not be so obsessed with being understood. Grant that I not be so distracted by needing to be consoled and loved. Instead, let me be the one to love, to understand, to console, because it's in doing that that I get everything. It is my opinion that when you and I practice the practices we have been studying all year, like meditation, prayer, selfless service, charitable giving, and so on, in that journey we will inevitably discover that we can be more generous with our consolation, that we can be more generous with our understanding and with our love, because on that journey we will discover and know who we actually are. And on that journey we will discover and know what to do when we forget who we are. In other words, we will know how to refuel so we can take our stand among the community of beings and be a presence for peace. You see, that is the power of practice, practice, practice. So our prayer for today is this, and I invite you to breathe in. Let your eyes close if you wish to. Spirit within, open my eyes to see your radiant light in all beings. Here is my brain. Think with it. Here is my face. Smile with it. Here is my heart. Love with it. Here is my tongue. Speak with it. Here is my hand. Touch someone's life with it. Spirit within, open my eyes to see your radiant light in all beings. Here is my brain. Think with it. Here is my face. Smile with it. Here is my heart. Love with it. Here is my tongue. Speak with it. Here is my hand. Touch someone's life with it. Spirit within, open my eyes to see your radiant light in all beings. Here is my brain. Think with it. Here is my face. Smile with it. Here is my tongue. Speak with it. Here is my heart. Love with it. Here is my hand. Touch someone's life with it.